I want to hear what it's like to be a bouncer in Hawaii, because I think we're gonna have him on the podcast soon. I got a buddy who's used to fight MMA. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He volunteered, and this guy is a very successful businessman. Volunteers to be a bouncer at this little dive bar in LA because he just likes getting into a tussle once in a while. And he's like, if I'm doing it as a bouncer, it's kind of legal because you always have an excuse that you're just trying to get the drunk guy out of the bar. So I can only imagine you're a big dude. You've got a big mouth. You're at a bar that services a big military population and Tongans and Samoans who are not known for being small.
Right.
What is that like, dude?
I mean, it's just constant. I mean, honestly, that's where your mouth comes into play because contrary to what your buddy, I mean, this place was kind of corporate. There were multiple franchises. Well, I think there was a corporate chain, but the one in Hawaii was specifically a franchise. But there was like one in Pasadena, up in Northern California. So they very much don't want to get sued. You know, nowadays you can't just whoop someone's ass.
Yeah, everybody's going to jail.
100%. And I would say Hawaii was kind of like a protected area because Hawaii is just a different fucking. Yeah, it's different. So the cops, if we had to whoop someone's ass, the cops would immediately believe us, which is horrible if you think about it. It's horrible. But the thing was, I mean, when it came to separating specifically locals from military, it just became, how can we try to get ahead of this before, like you can see it happening. When the Soles would come in, Samoans, they call themselves Soles, they would come in like 10 deep. And the shortest guy's like 6'4" and 250. You know, there's giant motherfuckers too. You know, and they would come in 10 deep. They would order red Coronas, which if you don't know is a Corona with grenadine, and hilariously the most, I don't know, effeminate drink you could order. So they're all sitting there with red Coronas. They put the lime in, they turn it upside down, and they stand in the corner. And you know, nothing against Samoans. There's just this particular group that would do that. And we're all like, what the fuck? Why are they? Should we get them a sex on the beach? Like, what you know? And they would just sit there and then out the whole bar of military dudes. And you could just tell that they're looking for the weakest link. They're looking for the guy who's going to give them license to start picking on them.
Yeah. And by the way, having been in the Army, I know Army guys do the same thing, right? They like just out of basic training, shaved head. They think they're all tough. Right. They walk into a bar, like they're also eyeing across the bar, like, yeah, who we gonna get into some shit with? Yeah. And
yeah, so you have two sides looking for a fight. So we knew the one that would be the best to calm down, which would be the locals, because who cares about these military guys? Honestly. Obviously, the bar cared. I don't know. I think they're closed down now, so I'm not going to try and speak for them. But, you know, you guys are in a different position. You know, you just came back from deployment. You were fighting, You're going to get a lot more trouble if you get in a fight.
Yeah. And the military guys are going to come and go.
Up. Well, also, they're going to get their asses whooped. Not one time did I ever see, just so you know, you're not going to win the fight. I don't care how big and strong you are. They roll deep, and it's not just one guy who can and will whoop your ass. His buddy, his brother, his cousin, they're all going to step in and
when The Rock dominate. Is the littlest guy in the family, you know you got a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? They grow up fighting, like real hand-to-hand. Like, even the women can whoop your ass. I'm not kidding. I've been in a fight with a small girl.
We'll get to that. All right, so you're working there, and then obviously your job is, because you don't want to be in the middle of this shit with punches flying everywhere. So you got good at de-escalating and running your mouth in a good way.
Yeah, so I would just step in. I could see them eyeing out some military guys. The military guys like, do you even know how much months of hand-to-hand combat I have? You know, and I would just walk over and be like, hey, did you guys, you guys want another round of red Coronas? I'm not paying for it, but I'll make sure the bartender gets it for you. And they thought it was, they thought it was funny because, I'm obviously just coming there to kind of like press the decompress button a little bit. And then one of them would be like, hey, G. And by the way, that's actually where I got my nickname, G. I did not give myself that name. I tried to carry Guillaume until I was 21 years old, until I arrived in Hawaii. And I started meeting some local people, and they're like, we're not calling you Guillaume. We're calling you G. I was like, okay. And then it's stuck to this day, obviously. But they say, hey, G, what the howly looking at me like that for? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Do I look like I'm a part of that crew? And do I look like I'm some sort of like, do I look like Professor X and I can read his mind? I think it might have something to do with the fact that you're glaring at him holding a red beer. I mean, I would be a little bit unimpressed too. And they would laugh about it because I love to talk shit in a way that will lighten the mood, and it worked there. But in many cases, it was inevitable. The fight was going to happen whether I said something or not. And it was a 2-story pub. If there was a fight downstairs, I think it was a buzzer. If it was a fight upstairs, it was a bell. And the downstairs was like a restaurant that was closed, but downstairs meant out front. So it would tell us, because we would just rotate in positions throughout the bar. I'd say probably like 3 to 4 nights a week, there was a fight. And, a lot of times, it was just with military guys that we were fighting with. Because when they get a lick in, after they hit you a couple times, they're gonna leave it alone. They're not gonna beat you to a pulp, the local guys. But the military guys want to fight until the guy's fucking bleeding on the ground.
Yeah.
So they were the ones that we would end up having to fucking grab and body slam or hold down, and the cops would come. We even had a point where there was like a pretty huge brawl. They weren't even Samoans. There was like 15 Filipino dudes, all under 5'5", okay? But they were like scrappy little fuckers. And they were not only fighting with the people in the bar, like the Marines and shit, but they were fighting with us. And I remember I heard the buzzer come downstairs, and there was already a tussle upstairs with a couple of them. I came out to chaos. I have never seen that many people throwing blows at once. It was like a WWE Royal Rumble. So many people fighting, and I just grabbed the first skinny little Filipino dude and just like threw him to the ground. Some like army guy is trying to fight, and then 5 minutes later, the MPs show up.
Oh, yeah.
MPs, which they don't really have jurisdiction out of off the base, but they basically got a call that there was a brawl. So HPD, Honolulu Police Department, and the MPs show up and they start beefing because the MPs, they're like, all these guys are government property, and Honolulu Police Department are like, no, they happen on city property. So it was just one of the most fucked up nights I've ever seen. But to be honest, what was it like? I mean, to me, I loved it. For me, it wasn't even about the fighting. It was the fact that it doesn't matter how ugly you are, you're going to get laid by by 7s and up.
I love how everything just comes back to, was there women involved? It didn't work out for me with the ladies.
Well,
like, I might have to take a right cross by a Samoan, but there's a really cute girl at the bar who thinks the bouncers are hot.
Listen, I never, to be clear, got hit by any local people.
Oh.
Except outside of the bar. I did get into a couple fights. One of those was with a Samoan woman, but it was like a boxing match. Like, she wanted to fight me, and it was kind of like they like to fight as like a cultural thing. Like, it's not like I went out and tried to fight a girl. She was like, "Oh, I'll take on you, G." And I was like, "Nah, I don't fight women." She's like, they were like, "No, bro, she can scrap." I was like, "Oh shit!" And I'm like not particularly a boxer. I'm more of a fighter. Like not a brawler, I think is too much because I do have a little bit of technical skill. But I'm not gonna just stand there and throw blows with you. I'll eat them to take you down, type of thing. And oh my God, she did hit very hard, but I don't know. I think I kind of have like a pretty good grip, and I basically tapped her out with an Americana, and it was like a light Americana, but that was a thick ass arm. Let me tell you, that was like.
Why was she pissed off at you to begin with?
No, it wasn't. She wasn't pissed off. It was like I was at a bar. I was at like a house thing. It was a barbecue. We were all drinking beers, and Samoans like to fight each other for fun.
This is so awesome.
Like, they would get in a circle and they would actually fight, and like real hits. They would put on like little light, little bigger, like 8 ounce.
Yeah.
Because 13 ounce are the big ones, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like little lightweight gloves for dudes that are 300 pounds.
Yeah, 100%. And they thought, the best part was they thought that it would protect their faces. Dumb motherfuckers. It protects your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, for people that don't know what we're talking about, when you see a boxing match and you see these guys that can punch like a freight train with the little 8 ounce gloves on, those gloves are not there to protect the head of the person they're punching. They're simply there to protect the boxer's investment of his hands and not break his knuckles.
Right.
Like people are always like, oh, well, you got punched with a glove. Like, no, dude, there's mad knockout power with a glove. The only thing that it does is save your knuckles from breaking so the boxer can show up 4 months later and box again. Right,
exactly. But anyway, during this, she wants to fight, and I'm like the newest person at the barbecue. And, they also knew that I worked at a bar, and she said, no, I want to fight that motherfucker. And she said it all pigeon, that motherfucker. And I'm like, damn, why you got to pick me out the crowd, girl?
I love that this is initiation. Like, you're the new guy in the clique. And so they're like, well, you're not even ready to fight our men yet. We're going to have you fight our women.
Yeah, exactly. And she was a good fighter, but it was kind of like pretty sloppy. She would just hit really hard. Oh, my God. She hit me with a rib shot. I was like, please don't do that again. I'm going to have to knee you in the face, okay? I did not like that.
This is amazing. I love the idea of there's still like a warrior society out there where mom's like, oh, no, I'll take you on, G.
Oh, yeah. 100%. If you were to go to American Samoa and piss off some MILF, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm very careful with the word MILF. It's not like there aren't gorgeous Samoan women, but there's also a stereotypical idea of Samoan women, and that does tend to be, they're a little on the bigger side. So, I mean, different folks, different strokes. I think we know someone who might be into it, but, if you would have just like try to aggress like a woman with kids, she's likely to whoop your ass. 100% to your point.
Don't hit on the wrong woman in
she'll headbutt you.
Yeah. In US Samoa, do not hit on the wrong woman at the bar. This is the moral of the story. If you take nothing else away from this podcast.